Welcome to Bite at a Time Books, where we read you your favorite classics one bite at a time. My name is Bree Carlile, and I love to read and wanted to share my passion with listeners like you. You can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. You'll also find our new t-shirts in the shop, including podcast shirts and quote shirts from your favorite classic novels. Be sure to follow my show on your favorite podcast platform so you get all the new episodes. We're part of the Bite at a Time Books Productions Network. If you'd also like to hear what inspired your favorite classic author to write their novels, and what was going on in the world at the time, check out the Bite at a Time Books Behind the Story podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Today we'll be continuing Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Chapter 15. Jondrette makes his purchases. A few moments later, about 3 o'clock, Courfeyrac chanced to be passing along the Rue Mouffetard in company with Bossuet. The snow had redoubled in violence and filled the air. Bossuet was just saying to Courfeyrac, "One would say, to see all these snowflakes fall, that there was a plague of white butterflies in heaven." All at once, Bossuet caught sight of Marius coming up the street towards the barrier with a peculiar air. "Hold," said Bossuet. "There's Marius." "I saw him," said Courfeyrac. "Don't, let's speak to him." "Why?" "He is busy." "With what?" "Don't you see his air?" "What air?" "He has the air of a man who's following someone." "That's true," said Bossuet. "Just see the eyes he is making," said Courfeyrac. "But who the deuce is he following?" "Some fine, flowery-bonneted wench. He's in love." "But," observed Bossuet, "I don't see any wench, nor any flowery bonnet in the street. There's not a woman around." Courfeyrac took a survey and exclaimed, "He is following a man." A man, in fact, wearing a gray cap, and whose gray beard could be distinguished, although they only saw his back, was walking along about 20 paces in advance of Marius. This man was dressed in a greatcoat, which was perfectly new and too large for him, and in a frightful pair of trousers all hanging in rags and black with mud. Bossuet burst out laughing. "Who is that man?" "He," retorted Courfeyrac. "He's a poet. Poets are very fond of wearing the trousers of dealers in rabbit skins and the overcoats of peers of France." "Let's see where Marius will go," said Bossuet. "Let's see where the man is going. Let's follow them, hey?" "Bossuet!" exclaimed Courfeyrac. "Eagle of Meaux! You are a prodigious brute. Follow a man who is following another man, indeed." They retraced their steps. Marius had, in fact, seen Jondrette passing along the Rue Mouffetard and was spying on his proceedings. Jondrette walked straight ahead, without a suspicion that he was already held by a glance. He quitted the Rue Mouffetard, and Marius saw him enter one of the most terrible hovels in the Rue Gaucheuse. He remained there about a quarter of an hour, then returned to the Rue Mouffetard. He halted in an ironmonger's shop, which then stood at the corner of the Rue Pierre Lombard. And a few minutes later, Marius saw him emerge from the shop, holding in his hand a huge cold chisel with a white wood handle, which he concealed beneath his greatcoat. At the top of the Rue Petite Gentilly, he turned to the left and proceeded rapidly to the Rue du Petit Banquier. The day was declining. The snow, which had ceased for a moment, had just begun again. Marius posted himself on the watch at the very corner of Rue du Petit Banquier, which was deserted, as usual, and did not follow Jondrette into it. It was lucky that he did so, for on arriving in the vicinity of the wall where Marius had heard the long-haired man and the bearded man conversing, Jondrette turned round, made sure that no one was following him, did not see him, then sprang across the wall and disappeared. The wasteland, bordered by this wall, communicated with the backyard of an ex-livery stable-keeper of bad repute, who had failed and who still kept a few old single-seated berlins under his shed. Marius thought that it would be wise to profit by Jondrette's absence to return home. Moreover, it was growing late. Every evening, Mame Bougon, when she set out for her dishwashing in town, had a habit of locking the door, which was always closed at dusk. Marius had given his key to the inspector of police. It was important, therefore, that he should make haste. Evening had arrived. Night had almost closed in. On the horizon and in the immensity of space, there remained but one spot illuminated by the sun, and that was the moon. It was rising in a ruddy glow behind the low dome of Salpêtrière. Marius returned to number 5052 with great strides. The door was still open when he arrived. He mounted the stairs on tiptoe and glided along the wall of the corridor to its chamber. This corridor, as the reader will remember, was bordered on both sides by attics, all of which were for the moment empty and to let. Mame Bougon was in the habit of leaving all the doors open. As he passed one of these attics, Marius thought he perceived in the uninhabited cell the motionless heads of 4 men vaguely lighted up by a remnant of daylight falling through a dormer window. Marius made no attempt to see. Not wishing to be seen himself, he succeeded in reaching his chamber without being seen and without making any noise. It was high time. A moment later, he heard Mame Bougon take her departure, locking the door of the house behind her. Thank you for joining Bite at a Time Books today, while we read a bite of one of your favorite classics. Again, my name is Bree Carlile, and I hope you come back tomorrow for the next bite of Les Miserables. Don't forget, you can sign up for our newsletter at biteatatimebooks.com. And while you're there, check out our t-shirt shop. You can look in the show notes or on our website, biteatatimebooks.com, for the rest of the links for our show. We'd love to hear from you on social media. You can find us everywhere at Bite at a Time Books.